Now, live from Whitney Media, 1460 WVOX, the Greenburgh Report, with Greenburgh Town Supervisor Paul Feiner. You can join in the conversation at 914-636-0110. Now on 1460 WVOX, here's Greenburgh Town Supervisor Paul Feiner.
Good morning, Westchester. I'm Paul Feiner. I'm the Greenburgh Town Supervisor. And over the years that I've been Town Supervisor, I've met a lot of people. And I don't think there's anyone that I've met who has impressed me more than Alise Curran. Alise was very involved in helping us organize the COVID Angels program. And we, because of her efforts, in large part, we were able to vaccinate during the height of COVID 4,000 seniors who were unable, normally would not have been able to get the vaccines. And this year, when there was a formula shortage, she organized a system where people would be able to share formulas with each other. If people needed the formulas, they would go on a formula finders page and get the formulas. But today we're interviewing Alise because she wrote a children's book. Nana will say yes. And we're going to talk about her book, and I'm going to ask her to read the book, and then we could chat about the book and about all the things, the great things that she's done.
Sure, Paul. Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me today. And I have to say, of course, that the reason I got involved in COVID Angels was because of you and your initiative to start that. So we really appreciate that. And the community is very thankful.
But if I had organized it, it would have been like 10 people who we would have helped rather than 4,000.
You got it started. And there was a really great team that came together and made it happen. So we're thrilled that we were able to help so many people.
Terrific. And so now you're an author as well as a political activist and community leader.
Thank you.
And organizer.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this. It's something that I've been wanting to do for a long time. I'm also a teacher. I'm home with my kids for a couple of years. But I love early childhood and books and promoting literacy. So I had this idea kind of popped in my head. Very inspired by my own mom and my own daughter's relationship. So they're thrilled. My daughter's 4, and she looks at it and she goes, "Oh, it's me and Nana." And it really is.
Oh,
so,
that's great.
Yeah, I surprised my mom with the idea of writing this book. And, she was thrilled. My daughter's thrilled. It's very exciting.
Does she look like the illustration?
Yep. I worked with an illustrator. I provided some photos and some details about them. And she really made it happen. So it's pretty exciting.
So this is how your mother looks.
Yeah, I think so. She doesn't think so.
That is great. How long did it take you to write the book?
To write the actual words was a pretty quick process. I would say about a week, and then going back and editing and rethinking. But the process of making it become a physical book was about 4.5 months.
And who illustrated it?
Aisha Gohar. We actually communicated solely through an app called Fiverr, which is where you can find illustrators and formatters. It's a really great resource if you're looking to do something like this and self-publish a book. She's fantastic, very talented, and very responsive. So we had a great experience.
How do you market a book when you...
That's a good question. I'm doing a ton of work right now through Instagram and Facebook and social media with targeted ads. I do some paid advertisements. I also do word of mouth. I use the community that I'm a part of, my daughter's preschool, and ton of flyers around town. We're having a book launch party tomorrow, which is open to the public. It's in White Plains on Bryant Avenue at Memorial Brew. If anyone's interested, it's from 10 to 12, so feel free to come on by. There'll be hot chocolate. There will be coffee and some cookies and kids' crafts. It should be fun.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So it's pretty exciting. I'm new to this whole thing, so the marketing isn't exactly my specialty, but I'm working on it, and it's doing great.
Since you have a lot of skills organizing people with the COVID Angels and with the formula finders, does your technology skills help you with the marketing?
Yeah, for sure. I've learned a ton the last few months, probably 2 or 3 months, about Instagram and Facebook, kind of the new programs with Reels and posts. And a ton of different things that kind of bring people in. So yeah, I think the technology piece helps, and it's definitely an engagement thing. So if someone writes to you, you write back to them, which is a huge part of organizing people as well, as being responsive to them.
That's great. You're like an amazing organizer.
Thank you.
How did you get those skills?
I would say my parents. Both of my parents are very involved in their community. I grew up in White Plains. My dad actually founded the first food bank in Westchester, which is now known as Feeding Westchester. But at the time, it was called Food Patch, which was people allied to combat hunger. And he just got the idea and then ended up with a group of people. He's still on the board today to be able to help out with that initiative. And my mom's also very involved in the community and different projects.
Oh, wow. So we have to take a 5-minute break, and then
Sure.
we'll be back. And my guest is Alise Curran, and her book is Nana Will Say Yes. And after the break, we'll read the book.
Okay,
So people could see it, and we'll tell you how you could purchase the book.
Yep, sounds great.
I'm Paul Feiner, Greenburgh Town Supervisor.
WVOX. Now back to the Greenburgh Report on 1460 WVOX. Once again, here's Greenburgh Town Supervisor Paul Feiner.
Hi, I'm Paul Feiner. I'm the Greenburgh Town Supervisor, and today my guest is Alise Curran, and she was very instrumental in organizing the COVID Angels program in Greenburgh, which got national attention, and we helped over 4,000 seniors get vaccines a year ago, and this year she helped with the formula finders, and there was a formula shortage. In fact, I'm just looking at the WVOX TV news, and it says Reckitt expects baby formula shortage until spring. So the formula shortage is really still around.
Yeah, unfortunately, it still remains a big problem for people. There is the active Facebook group, Westchester Formula Finders, that you can search to help people out. Or if you're looking for formula, one of the ways you can help is just posting a quick picture on the Facebook group to let people know where you saw formula at different stores. It kind of saves people time and their energy from running out into different places. So that's a great way to help. And unfortunately, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, we just reached the last couple of weeks 2,000 members in the group, which is an awesome feat because numbers are perfect for helping people. We need more numbers to help more people. But at the same time, the need is still really there, and we're seeing an uptick of people who are still really looking for that formula.
That is great. So if you basically are looking for formulas, Alise's formula finders group could help you get it. But if you basically have a child who wants to appreciate his Nana, you might want to read this book. And
yes, for sure.
That maybe you could read the book.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said, this book is very personal to me. It's about my daughter and my mom and their relationship, and it's called Nana Will Say Yes. And it's perfect for kids beginning to read themselves. It's also for kids who are perfect for listening to stories, which can happen at a very young age, could start at 0. So this is called Nana Will Say Yes.
Okay, and we're going to read the whole book in 5 minutes or less.
Oh, yes, for
Right.
sure. It's a pretty quick read, which is nice for parents also. It's Nana Will Say Yes. Nana will say yes when you ask her for a cookie. Nana will say yes even though you're playing hooky. Nana will say yes when you ask her to push more. Nana will say yes even though her back is sore. Nana will say yes when you ask to sleep over. Nana will say yes even though you hog the cover. Nana will say yes when you ask to watch another show. Nana will say yes even though your parents may have told you no. Nana will say yes when you want to show her bugs. Nana will say yes even though she'd really rather just get hugs. Nana will say yes when you ask to stay up late. Nana will say yes because you are her best playmate. Nana will say yes since she knows the time will pass. Nana will say yes because she knows it will go too fast.
So the lesson is that nanas are not great at tough love.
Yeah, the lesson is that that's not necessarily their job all the time. So they can kind of spoil the kids a little bit more, and parents have to be a bit of more of the tough guys.
So is your mother always a yes person to your child?
I would say she's a majority yes person. She's pretty permissive, but she's also keeps them safe. They feel very loved with her and my dad, and all their grandparents. And, you know, the idea is that it's just a very sweet relationship between them. And, you know, they have a special bond. It's kind of hard to describe in words what it's really like, other than you see it and you know it's pretty special to both of them.
How often do they see your parents?
Very regularly. So they're very close. They live about 15 minutes. Not even 10 minutes from us. So a couple times a week if they're not traveling.
Yeah, my sister, her daughter's giving birth in April. So
Exciting.
So I think I'm gonna share the book with her.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great. It's a really fun one, and it's kind of easy on the ears. And I always say it's one that parents won't mind reading again when a kid says again at the end of a book.
That's right. And if they say, "Do you want to read a whole book?" It only takes a couple minutes.
Exactly.
To read the book, and I like it because it basically has an easy message, and the art is nice.
Yeah.
It's a cute little book. What age levels would you recommend the book for?
I would say independent reading. I would say first grade, second grade. And then for listening, which can start, like I said, at zero to third grade. It's never too late to read your kid a story. And it's never a good time to stop reading out loud. So always keep reading out loud, even when your child can read themselves. It's just a really lovely experience, and they can kind of really enjoy the reading.
I forgot to ask, how do people get the book?
Yeah, so the book is available. My favorite place to buy it right now is bookshop.org because it supports local bookstores. So you can check it out on bookshop.org. It's also on, the ebook is on Amazon.com. The paperback is coming on Amazon, and BarnesandNoble.com.
That is that is great. And I think this is like a great book because everybody knows that children love their grandparents, a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you, when you were writing the book, did you have to think of how you made it like so simple and easy? Was that a challenge also?
It kind of was a challenge to keep it more simple and not put in as many details as I might want to. Being a teacher for years, you kind of get the idea of what kids really go for, and it's refrains that they can remember, so how it repeats even though they kind of know what to expect next. So I kind of tried to stick to that formula and just kind of keep it pretty simple.
That's great. As a teacher, what lessons would you give what would you recommend parents should do that many don't do?
Read. I'm not saying many don't do it, but I think it's the most important thing. Early reading to children is linked to their literacy later in life, and how literate they become and how successful they become in reading. So it's really important to read. There's a quote that is, children become readers on the laps of their parents. And I truly believe that. So just bring them in, read.
That's great. So we have to take another break. This is a shorter break. I'm Paul Feiner, Greenburgh Town Supervisor. And we're talking with Alise Curran. And her book is Nana Will Say Yes. And it's available on Amazon and also
Barnes & Noble and bookshop.org.
Bookshop.org. I'm Paul Feiner, Greenburgh Town Supervisor.
Now back to the Greenburgh Report on 1460 WVOX. Once again, here's Greenburgh Town Supervisor Paul Feiner.
Hi, I'm Paul Feiner. I'm the Greenburgh Town Supervisor, and my guest is Alise Curran, and she is the author of a book, Nana Will Say Yes. It's a short book that is excellent reading for young children. Actually, this could be a perfect first book that your son or daughter or grandchild will read in its entirety. Mm-hmm. And they'll be really proud of themselves for being able to read a book by themselves, a whole book by themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. I have some friends who have children who are in first grade, and she said it's perfect for her daughter to read to her baby son. So she's thrilled about that.
Right, and they must feel really proud.
Super proud.
And in terms of the book is available in various forums, barnesandnobles.com, amazon.com. You said
bookshop.org, and that organization supports local bookstores, so I highly recommend getting it from there.
That's great. So after you decided you wanted to write a book, mm-hmm. and you had no experience writing books before?
Nope.
So how did you, when we're talking about marketing it, so what should somebody do if they want to market a book?
Like I said, this is just...
How did you go about it?
Yeah, just my experience. There are kind of two main ways that I found that you can self-publish. And one of them is through a program called Ingram Spark. And it's just a website, ingramspark.com. And Amazon KDP, which is Kindle Direct Publishing. So through Ingram Spark, you have the opportunity to upload your book. And Ingram has a ton of different distribution networks. So they work with Walmart.com, they work with barnesandnoble.com, they work with bookshop.org, tons, and international, so all over the world. So through them, if you upload, it's a pretty reasonable fee. They will kind of push your book out to their different distribution networks, and those networks can decide whether to take your book and put it up on their website. So that's been one of the major ways for visibility for my book, at least. And
has it been successful?
Yeah, it's been successful. I would say primarily right now it's friends and family, which is totally fine. And I'm super grateful for that support. And I think as we go into the new year, there will be a new push after the new year for me to do some more advertising and marketing to a wider audience.
That is, that is great. Were there any surprises in terms of your experiences writing a book?
One of the surprises was that there's a fantastic network of independent self-publishers and online, and they are so supportive and kind and have a ton of information for new authors. And they're just willing to, share. A bunch of times I was online on Instagram and just ended up messaging someone, hey, can you tell me how you did that part? I wasn't sure. And they're like, oh, just do this, this, and this.
So it's like a support group for authors.
Yeah, there are groups that are together. And then there's also just, kind people out there that are willing to help out.
And in terms of the self-publishing.
Yes.
Did you originally try going to a regular, not a self-publisher, but like,
traditional publisher. Yeah, so I have about 4 other books that are written as well. And one of them I really kind of shopped around. That was my first step, starting to write a book. I ended up sending it to a few traditional publishers and directly to literary agents. But what I realized is that process can take years, and the average is years. And for me, it was really important that my kids saw this when they were little. And I really wanted this book to be in their hands while they're small. So that's what I did. I decided, you know what, I'm just going to self-publish this one, and I can always go back and decide to do it differently next time.
If you self-publish, does it disqualify you from getting a publisher to republish it?
To republish it, likely, yes. I don't think that you can, once it's published, I don't think that you can really go back unless you change some of the content for it to be published traditionally. But it doesn't disqualify you from having a traditional publisher in the future.
Do you think that self-publishing has the industry sort of changed for authors? Are more people trying self-publishing, and do you still have a chance as an author to get the same readership?
Yeah, I'm not sure whether you get the chance to have the same readership because it really is the marketing of big traditional publishers. There's a lot of money in it, so it can really push a book much further than an independent publisher. But it does provide the opportunity for a wider audience to publish their own books.
Right, and I guess in terms of like the free media, are you getting any free media attention or any children's book reviews?
Yeah, they're especially Instagram. Like I said, I'm going to keep plugging it. It's been a fantastic resource. There are a ton of book reviewers that are willing to review your book if you send them a copy. And I did a bunch of advanced reader copies for them, which is part of the process. And there's also people who are willing to review your book if you donate one to their little free libraries. I'm not sure if Greenburgh has them around. Yeah, they're fantastic. So I just started one myself. And a lot of the people that I've written said, sure, I'd love to. Just send me it and it'll go into the free little library. Or the little free library, excuse me. So that's fantastic as well.
Do you have any good reviews so far?
Yeah, I have a ton of 5 stars, so I'm thrilled about that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What about comments saying this is such a cute book or?
Yep. One person just wrote the other day, how kind of Alise to write a book directly about me and my grandchild, which of course she was kidding. I've never met this person before. But it's obviously that relatable to her and to people where they're like, oh yeah, this reminds me of the relationship I have with my grandkid.
Well, what I'm sort of excited about is, again, my niece is giving birth in April, and I was just talking to my sister yesterday, and we were talking about how she's going to interact with the little baby, and I could see that my sister's going to be a yes person also. So
Yes.
I thought that this book was also written about her.
Yeah, exactly. It's really
but
relatable.
I think that this is something that everybody will say, you're right. They could relate to it.
Yeah, and a ton of people's comments are too like, yep, Nana always does say yes.
Do you think that there's some grandparents who aren't that great?
Yeah, I'm sure there are grandparents that aren't that great. Fortunately, we don't have them in our children's lives, but yeah, I think some people are a little more strict with their grandkids, and that's totally fine. My mom always says when she reads this, she goes, now do I always have to say yes? I'm like, no, you know, of course not. But she's very permissive with my kids in a safe way.
Were your parents or was your nana was your parents? Did they say yes to you when you were growing up, or were they strict?
No, they were not strict. We had our safety boundaries, and we had our boundaries that we followed. Our only rules really were get good grades. My dad used to say that all the time. Get good grades, be kind, and be safe. So that was really, and my dad, whenever we'd ask him a question, I don't see why not. Like, can we go do this? Is it canned answer would always be, well, I don't see why not. So they said yes to us a lot in different ways. Are
you going to write a book about parents?
Potentially. Right now I have one for my dad. That'll be Grandpa Will Say Yes, most likely. So that's my next step. But
this is going to be sort of like a sequel to
this. Kind of like a companion piece to it.
To show that grandfathers could be as nice as grandmothers.
Of course, yeah. And, yeah, exactly. And it's important to me to kind of represent the world that we live in. So if you take a good look into this book as well, there's representation of the LGBTQ community with the rainbow flags and some portrait of a gay wedding. And it's just important to me to show everyone what our world really looks like rather than kind of a narrow view.
That is really terrific.
Yeah.
So you could write another book about the LGBT community.
I could.
And so that's great.
Yeah.
You get a lot. You have a lot of great ideas always, and you said you got many of them from your father.
Mm-hmm.
So will you mention in your book your father's role in terms of feeding the hungry?
If I can, I'd love to kind of put that in there, and my mom too. Help wherever you can, as much as you can. They always kind of jumped in to help, and that's really important to us and our family.
Great. So I will be back in a couple minutes. I'm Paul Feiner. I'm the Greenburgh Town Supervisor. And our guest is Alise Curran, the author of a book that should be a bestseller because everybody will relate to it.
I agree.
Nana Will Say Yes. So, and where's the book signing?
Tomorrow in White Plains at Memorial Brew, there will be a book launch party. I could sign books. Happy to see you there.
And that's December 3rd.
December 3rd.
Great. I'm Paul
10 to
Feiner,
12.
Greenburgh Town Supervisor.
WVOX. Now back to the Greenburgh Report on 1460 WVOX. Once again, here's Greenburgh Town Supervisor Paul Feiner.
Hi, I'm Paul Feiner. I'm the Greenburgh Town Supervisor, and I'm interviewing Alise Curran, who's author of the new book, Nana Will Say Yes. And again, how do people get it?
They can get it on bookshop.org, on Amazon, on barnesandnoble.com, and if you're local, the Harrison Public Library is adding it to its collection, and the Portchester Library is adding it to its collection.
And if you're a grandparent and you read the book, buy the book, you'll think the book's about you.
That's for sure.
Because if you're a grandmother who always says yes to your grandchild, then this book is definitely appropriate.
Yeah, and kids get a kick out of it.
Right. And I think it's really good because when a little girl or a little boy read the book, and if their grandparent is sitting next to them, they really will think it's about their grandparents, which is really nice. And you mentioned you're working on a sequel about your what do they call grandfathers?
Grandpa is my dad to my kids.
So it's going to I bet you the headline's going to be Grandpa Will Say Yes.
That's what it'll be.
And it will say, this book is was authored by the author of Nana Will Say Yes.
The best-selling book. I kid. Nana Will Say Yes. Yes.
That's great. You've come up with a lot of ideas in the short time I've known you. You were instrumental in organizing the COVID Angels, and you used your technology skills to make it easy for people to sign up and to request the service. And you did the same thing with the Formula Angels. You mentioned during the break that you have another idea. You want to mention that?
Yeah, I've been working with an organization called reachachild.org, and it provides books to children who are in emergency situations. So the books actually go to first responders, and if they show up at an emergency, they're able to, they take a book and a book bag, and they read to the child while there's a traumatic situation going on around them, with the idea that they would distract the child from whatever that is, whether it's a domestic violence situation, whether it's a fire. And then the kid gets to have that experience with the first responder in a positive way, and they get to keep the book in the bag. And I'd love to do something local with that. I'd love to find an organization that would do something where we can do that in our community.
If you email me on that, I'm just thinking that we have a CERT team, and I was thinking that would be like really perfect because but it's the CERT teams, the Red Cross. I think this is another brilliant idea. I may win like the Nobel Prize for stealing all your ideas.
It works for me. Whatever helps people, helps kids, that's good for me.
Yeah, so if I get a Nobel Prize for all these creative ideas,
a short mention.
I'll put you like in a little asterisk and say thank you.
Yeah, that sounds great.
But no, this is really a great idea because you've really done a lot to make people happy.
Yeah, try.
And you said your father has done the same thing with the food patch. It's really an amazing initiative. And he thought of the idea?
Yeah, he realized there were people that were hungry in the community, and he said we need to do something about this. And with my mom's help also, they both got involved, and they're still very involved today. He's on the board of Feeding Westchester. It's still a huge need in our community, as you know. So it's another great organization to help out.
And when he started it, there was like no programs of that.
There was nothing comprehensive, from my understanding, that would provide people support in one place.
Yeah, I'm sort of wondering if you've like done a lot, probably more than most elected officials, and so how come you don't run for office? If
It's a good question. Maybe down the road I will.
you run against me, then all the compliments I made, forget
You
about
take
it.
them back.
I'll take them back.
Yeah, no, for me right now, my focus is my young family and, having a little flexibility to do what they need me to do. And that's kind of my goal right now.
Do you think that being like a citizen, in some ways you represent like the ideal, I think President Obama said the hardest job is being a citizen, and that's the most important job. Do you think you could accomplish as much being on the outside as being in the inside? I mean, are there advantages to not holding public office?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that a lot of what we have accomplished and what I've accomplished within the terms of different groups and other motivated people we've been able to do it because there wasn't any red tape. We said, this is what we're going to do, here's where we're going to go, and here's how we're going to accomplish it. And I think knowing where we wanted to go without having to get a ton of stakeholder opinions was very helpful to us in those situations because it was timely and, it needed to happen right away.
Right, and if you had to organize a formula finders and deal with government, it would have taken 20 years and the formula shortage would have been out.
Exactly.
And they would have said, oh, there's liability. What happens if somebody gets sick from it? Or the community can't do this because...
Yeah, exactly. I think that a lot of times people kind of look to cover themselves, which is fine and fair. But most of the things that tend to get my attention are the things that are immediate needs for people and that really need help. And they need help right now. So there is definitely a benefit to doing that independently and with just a group of citizens.
Going back to your book, you mentioned earlier that there's like a group of other writers who could help, and there's websites for people who self-publish.
Yep. On Facebook specifically, there's a group 20 to 500,000 it's called. It's kind of an interesting name, but it's 20 to 50,000, excuse me. 20 to 50,000 is the name of the Facebook group. And there are a ton of independent authors on there that are fantastic and really willing to help.
How do you know how many books to order to initially print?
So the best thing that I found about these publishing companies that I've worked with is I went with a print-on-demand method. So there are two different options. You can do offset printing, where you purchase your own books to print and kind of stock and send out, or you can use these companies where they're only printed once they're ordered by customers. So I don't actually have to make that decision, except for with the book launch party, which I've ordered some books for people to purchase. I don't have to make those decisions long term.
Oh, so you don't have to have like a stack of books in your...
I don't. That was an option. And the more I thought about, being in charge of kind of doing that ordering, sending it out, getting everything together and mailing, I decided it wasn't the right option for me.
Is it much more expensive this way?
The companies do take a 60% royalty.
But is it more expensive in terms of the book by demand where they print for each copy or whatever?
It's a much better option if you're not looking to put out a bunch of money at the beginning.
Right. So if you make the New York Times bestseller list, then you're going to regret that decision, right?
No, because I don't think I would have made it if I didn't go through these places that would push my book and distribute my book and print my book.
Are you going to try like marketing it to the New York media at all? Because it's like something that relates to a lot of people, I think.
Yeah, I'd love to. I did send out some initial press releases, and it was in the election time, and I think it kind of just got pushed because there were important elections happening. So I will do another push in the spring to the media for sure. That
is great. We are running out of time, and I want to thank you, Alise Curran, for your book. Nana will say yes, and it's a great book. It's a great book for first graders. It could be their first book that they'll read in its entirety, and it could launch their lives as
readers, and they can start listening to it as soon as they're born. It's a perfect book for young children.
And I also want to thank you for all the great work you do in the community. Again, without you, the COVID Angels would not have been as successful, and without you, there'd be no formula finders for people who can't find formulas. So you've, in just a few years, made many, many people, smile, and you've made more of a difference in the world than many elected officials. In fact, most elected officials.
Thank you very much. And, with your support, of course, of both of those initiatives, they've been successful. So thank you.
Great. I'm Paul Feiner, Greenburgh Town Supervisor. I'll speak to everybody next week. Thank you.